The show is starting.
I feel the liftoff. The clock has started. Roger.
Due to its unpredictable nature, the Ask Dr. Hal Show Home Edition is not for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
The finest in underground television.
A Winter's Tale. It is a winter's tale that the snow-blind twilight ferries over the lakes, and floating fields from the farm in the cup of the vales, gliding windless through the hand-folded flakes, the pale breath of cattle at the stealthy sail, and the stars falling cold, and the smell of hay in the snow, and the far owl warning among the folds, and the frozen hold flocked with the sheep-white smoke of the farmhouse cowl in the river-wended vales where the tale was told. Once, when the world turned old on a star of faith, pure as the drifting bread, as the food and flames of the snow, a man unrolled the scrolls of fire that burned in his heart and head, torn and alone in a farmhouse in a fold of fields, and burning then in his firelit island, ringed by the winged snow and the dung hills white as wool, and the hen roosts sleeping chill till the flame of the cock-crow combs through the mantled yards, and the morning men stumble out with their spades, the cattle stirring, the mousing cat stepping sly, the puffed birds hopping and hunting, the milkmaids gentle in their clogs over the fallen sky, and all the woken farm at its white trades. He knelt, he wept, he prayed by the spit and the black pot and the log bright light, and the cup and the cut bread and the dancing shade, in the muffled house, in the quick of night, at the point of love, forsaken and afraid. He knelt on the cold stones, he wept from the crest of grief, he prayed to the veiled sky, may his hunger go howling on bare white bones past the statues of the stables and the sky-roofed sties and the duck-pond glass and the blinding byres alone, into the home of prayers and fires where he should prowl down the cloud of his snow-blind love and rush in the white lairs. His naked need struck him, howling and bowed, though no sound flowed down the hand-folded air, but only the wind strung hunger of birds in the fields of the bread of water, tossed in high corn, and the harvest melting on their tongues. And his nameless need bound him burning and lost, when cold as snow he should run the wended vales among the rivers mouthed in night, and drown in the drifts of his need, and lie curled, caught in the always desiring center of the white inhuman cradle, and the bride bed forever sought by the believer lost, and the hurled outcast of light. Deliver him, he cried, by losing him all in love, and cast his need alone and naked in the engulfing bride, never to flourish in the fields of the white seed, or flower under the time-dying flesh astride. Listen, the minstrels sing in the departed villages. The nightingale, dust in the buried wood, flies on the grains of her wings, and spells on the wind of the dead his winter's tale. The voice of the dust of water from the withered spring is telling. The wizened stream with bells and baying water bounds. The dew rings on the gristed leaves and the long-gone glistening parish of snow. The carved mouths in the rock are wind-swept strings. Time sings through the intricately dead snow drop. Listen, it was a hand or sound in the long-ago land that glided the dark door wide, and there, outside, on the bread of the ground, a she-bird rose, and rayed like a burning bride. A she-bird dawned, and her breast with snow and scarlet downed. Look, and the dancers move on the departed snow-bushed green, wanton in moonlight as a dust of pigeons. Exulting, the grave-hooved horses, centaur dead, turn and tread the drenched white paddocks in the farms of birds. The dead oak walks for love. The carved limbs in the rock leap as to trumpets. Calligraphy of the old leaves is dancing. Lines of age on the stones weave in a flock, and the harp-shaped voice of the water's dust plucks in a fold of fields. For love, the long-ago she-bird rises. Look, and the wild wings were raised above her folded head, and the soft, feathered voice was flying through the house as though the she-bird had praised, and all the elements of the slow fall rejoiced that a man knelt alone in the cup of the vales, in the mantle and calm, by the spit and the black pot and the log-bright light, and the sky of birds in the plumed voice charmed him up, and he ran like a wind after the kindling flight, past the blind barns and byres of the windless farm, in the poles of the year, when blackbirds died like the priests in the cloaked hedgerow, and over the cloth of counties the far hills rode near. Under the one-leaved trees ran a scarecrow of snow, and fast through the drifts of the thickets, antlered like deer, rags and prayers down the knee-deep hillocks and loud on the numbed lakes, all night lost and long, wading in the wake of the she-bird through the times and lands and tribes of the slow flakes. Listen and look where she sails the goose-plucked sea, the sky, the bird, the bride. The cloud, the need, the planted stars, the joy beyond the fields of seed, and the time-dying flesh astride, the heavens, the heaven, the grave, the burning font in the far-ago land, the door of his death glided wide, and the bird descended, on a bread-white hill over the cupped farm, and the lakes and floating fields and the river-wended vales where he prayed to come to the last harm, and the home of prayers and fires, the tale ended. The dancing perishes on the white, no longer growing green, and minstrel dead. The singing breaks in the snow-shoed villages of wishes that once cut the figures of birds on the deep bread, and over the glazed lakes skated the shapes of fishes flying. The rite is shorn of nightingale and centaur dead horse. The springs wither back, lines of age sleep on the stories till trumpeting dawn exaltation lies down. Time buries the spring weather that belled and bounded with the fossil and the dew reborn. For the bird lay bedded in a choir of wings, as though she slept or died, and the wings glided wide, and he was hymned and wedded, and through the thighs of the engulfing bride, the woman breasted and the heaven-headed bird, he was brought low, burning in the bride bed of love, in the whirlpool at the wanting center, in the folds of paradise, in the spun bud of the world, and she rose with him, flowering in her melting snow. Dylan Thomas.
Move your head back. Move your head back.
Here before you is an opportunity to plumb the depths of the mysteries that confound and intrigue us. A chance to ask the big questions. Dr. Hal is not concerned with questions of trivial matters or of facts that are easily gathered elsewhere. Dr. Hal seeks the questions that transcend fact. He stands before you, ready to take questions that used to be brought to wise and aged sages on distant mountaintops. These questions can now be asked from the comfort of your living room. No Sherpas required. Simply direct your favorite web browser to our new and simple-to-use website, AskDrHalShow.com, or click the Ask Dr. Hal button below our live Twitch broadcast. You will be spirited away to the magical Co-Fee portal, where all you need do is submit your burning question in the handy message field, and assign a monetary value you wish to place upon it. Our stage ghost will then convey your message live to Dr. Hal, and he will answer in the manner that only Dr. Hal can. Don't worry, we never sell, share, or solicit using your provided email address. PayPal will ensure that your valuable love offering goes directly to Dr. Hal. Links to submit questions and more can be found at our website, AskDrHalShow.com. Do not let this opportunity to consult a modern-day oracle, a seer for seers, a man steeped in the arts, sciences, and esoteric studies, pass you by. We present to you, through the very miracle of the internet itself, the one and only Dr. Hal Robins, now making house calls. Welcome, dear audience.
Greetings and salutations.
I'm always amazed when it works.
Sometimes the magic works, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's the incantations. It's not Leviosa, it's Leviosam.
It's hard to hear you. You're really
It's hard to hear. Am I low?
Yes.
Oh, let me see what's going on
yeah.
with my audio.
That's a bit better.
Whoa, can
Am
you
I
get?
better now? All of a sudden,
You're better.
Yeah, all of a sudden it just picked up. That's weird.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Am I dropping in and out?
No, I can hear you just fine.
Strange.
But the
Turn
microphone
on.
moving.
Tune in, drop out.
Strange. We didn't smudge before the show today. That's
No,
what it
we
is.
ran
Oh,
out of sage.
Gremlins.
Oh,
Uh, I wonder if the Gremlins Bugs Bunny version isn't that in public domain?
I don't know. There are
I'm not sure.
two cartoons with the gremlins. One of them is Falling Hair, and one of them is Russian Rhapsody.
I think Falling Hair is in public domain.
You're still kind of quiet.
I'm still quiet. Let me bump my amperage up here.
Ah.
Mhm.
Bear with me just
Of
a
course,
moment.
we know the genesis of the gremlins. They were created by Roald Dahl, and Disney was planning to do a film, a cartoon about them, but then Disney never did. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers had heard about it, and they hurried to get their two gremlins cartoons by Robert Clampett into production, and those did come out, and thus the legend of the gremlins was solidified, since apparently it came from the lore of aviators before Roald Dahl got ahead of it.
You say that like they don't exist. I'm here to tell you.
I
Well, I'm
100%
saying how
agree.
they percolated into public consciousness when it was only something that airmen swore about.
I assume yes. I'm looking at my meter now, and I'm kind of way up there. So I'm gonna look for a thumbs up from St. Joyce.
Then there was The Horror of the Heights by A. Conan Doyle, but perhaps we should get into that a different time.
Very
Sort of
good.
aerial giant squids that would grab pilots.
Ooh, that's no good.
And dwellers in the upper atmosphere.
Well, dear audience, before we begin this evening, we would like to announce that Ko-fi has instituted a new policy that is limiting the number of characters allowable for questions. So, our apologies to everybody who has tried to submit a longer question recently. In the event that you would like to submit something larger than 250 characters, we would suggest that you make a small initial offering and then the remainder of your offering in a second follow-up question, and we will combine them for you. So thank you very much for your patience. We will be working to rectify the situation by the next show.
And
Rectus in
rectify
protest.
it we will.
Rectum, I hardly know him.
Yeah. Well, the room got quiet on that one, eh? Oh, Professor Gofflin. Sorry. Oops, I dead
Hot in
named you.
here.
Sorry.
Rectus or rectum, the neuter form, means upright.
See, this is such an educational show. You never know what you're going to learn here. Which is why we have that adults only message.
Right, the kids would already have their ears blistered by this time. And that's nothing compared to what may occur later.
We never know. We just don't know what the audience is going to ask. And of course, we answer things honestly. The good doctor, does not lie and does not hold back the truth especially when a love offering is involved.
Indeed.
Now, if a love offering isn't involved, he's more than
wildly prevaricates.
Yeah.
Well, it gets what you get.
Shake that 8-ball.
Yeah. We used the 8-ball in the live show if someone sent up a question without money, and they would get an answer which was laconic or terse, but always binary.
I think that's just brilliant. I think that is a lovely idea. I wish we could steal it. It's a lovely stealable idea, but
it's not a follow through of showmanship, but rather a failure of that, which is why we would then say, but does anyone want to sponsor the question? And we would usually get some money at that point.
We do.
Rather than hear an 8-ball answer.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because we do have a sponsored question tonight, and there's sort of a reason for it. PayPal did something weird. I made a purchase, and it took the money out of your PayPal account.
What?
Well, I mean, my PayPal account for you, not, it's not like I can dip into your money. It's,
The name PayPal is fraught with associations and digital entanglements.
That pile of coins that you're sitting on is safe from me, Doctor.
I'm just keeping him warm.
Let me know if something hatches. But we do have questions.
That's good,
Oh, we do
because we
indeed.
can't really do this without questions.
It's
And
what
let's
it's what we're
see if they gave us some interesting ones this time, which I
Let's
have every confidence they have done.
ask Dr. Hal. The rules are written into the name of the show.
Remember, if you are exceptionally generous with your premium or emolument for me, Dr. Hal, you will then produce a recitation, which some people might try to avoid, but the better the contribution, ideally, the better the recitation. But that's not necessary. You can add your widow's mite or poor man's farthing if that is a necessity for you.
Well, but so you know what? I think why don't we start with that question? And it is a question from Professor Trixie
Oh,
von
an inboard
Millersbaum.
question. Well, I pledge that I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't, and actually, I sort of we discussed this question, and I said, that sounds like a really good question to ask Dr. Hal, and even though it's one that you could look up. Professor Gofflin, I'm going to bring you back in just a couple minutes, but let me go ahead and jump into this screen over here. There it is. So, how does one smoke toad venom? How does one use toad venom?
Well, I will explain that as a codicil. I will add that use of toad venom is illegal under portmanteau laws, which were enacted during the drug wars, which were trying to stop people from using any drug, even one that they didn't know about. And so all methods of psychedelic assimilation are illegal, including this one. And it's interesting that a number of years ago, a nature teacher and his wife were arrested for using toad venom. Curiously enough, their names were Bob and Connie. Anyway, the venom of a toad is real. Toads have no venom when they bite you, as sometimes they do, since they don't like being picked up. You're lucky if they only give you a little nip, and it's more likely that they will pee all over your hand, causing you to drop them with a loud expression of distaste. But toads do possess venom glands, varying between the different species, and these are to give them a bad rep among the rest of the animal kingdom. If you put this thing in your mouth, you're going to be sick, and maybe your heart will even stop. That is why the widely spread and abused idea that you should lick a toad is incredibly bad advice and should never be done. If you ingest toad venom, your heart will stop. The Australian cane toad, an invasive species, has such weak venom that if you lick it, you will maybe get high in a queasy way and you won't die. But other species, those more close to home, have far more powerful venom. The most powerful toad venom, which is the venom that Native Americans and Aztecs and Mayans were familiar with in their ceremonies, is the venom of the Colorado river toad, Bufo alvarius, which inhabits the Sonoran bioregion. The Sonoran area extends from western New Mexico to southeastern Lower California and is in Arizona and northern Mexico. That's where these toads are found. They estivate 60 feet underground and are quiescent for most of the year. But when the monsoon comes and softens the soil, they tunnel up to the surface and then are found, or used to be found, on the roads at night. making their music. They are enormous and basketball-sized. And when they hop, they get a few inches off the ground, and then when they land, they spread out spectacularly. And when these things pee on you, there's quite a discharge of liquid. But never mind that. You're interested in smoking the venom, and that's how you do it. You smoke the venom of Bufo alvarius, and you do it in this way. You squeeze the venom glands on the back of the animal. It doesn't hurt the toad, but it would certainly hurt a dog or a coyote that took the toad in its mouth or messed with it. This is, I remind you again, a powerful toxin when ingested. But if you squeeze these bulging buboes on the back of Bufo alvarius, you squeeze it onto a sheet of clean glass that you have prepared and let it dry on the clean glass. Then you scrape this off with a razor blade, which should also be clean. Do I have to say, when you perform experiments, even mad science experiments, you have to be clean about everything. Keep your equipment clean, hermetic. You don't introduce other agents, other substances, just like performing magical rituals. Everything has to be correct. It's worth taking the time. So scrape it off and put it in a pipe, a little pipe, which is also clean and has no residue of marijuana or tobacco or anything else in it. And then find a nice, comfortable chair in a place where no one will mess with your body for a while. And take a puff of this stuff. And very quickly, you will be lifted to an incredibly intense psychedelic stage, somewhat similar to the pure white light of an LSD trip, which is ultra powerful. But a difference from the LSD trip is your toad experience will be over in half an hour or less, and you will be released from it, and you will return to your body, and you will have a feeling of being fastened into nature that, as some have described it, you feel nature breathing. And for the next few days, you will have a feeling of light-headedness, pleasure, and intellectual quickness, which will fade. I remind you again, this is an illegal procedure. But that hasn't stopped many from doing it, including Dr. Andrew Weil, the famous scientist. And so that's the story. Never lick a toad. Don't put toad venom in your mouth. And remember that, as Shakespeare says, metaphorically, the toad, ugly and venomous, bears yet a precious jewel in his head.
Dr. Hal, I should mention that that was a $15 sponsored question.
Oh, $15 question. So you see, it is a question that should generate a recitation. And so, in this instance, it shall. The Song of the Mischievous Dog. There are many who say that a dog has its day, and a cat has a number of lives. There are others who think that a lobster is pink, and that bees never work in their hives. There are fewer, of course, who insist that a horse has a horn and 2 humps on its head, and a fellow who jeers that a mare can build nests is as rare as a donkey that's red. Yet, in spite of all this, I have moments of bliss, for I cherish a passion for bones, and though doubtful of biscuit, I'm willing to risk it, and I love to chase rabbits and stones. But my greatest delight is to take a good bite at a calf that is plump and delicious, and if I indulge in a bite at a bulge, let's hope you won't think me too vicious. Dylan Thomas. Did I mention it's called The Song of the Mischievous Dog.
Aptly titled.
Yes.
I do want to mention we don't get many drug questions on this show.
Surprisingly.
That was a very intelligent answer. And I do want to remind the audience, though, don't do it.
Yeah, I'd also say don't do it. I've been experimenting for years. I've even gone out in the desert. I've collected the toads, but one must be 100% sure that one has the right species. But what incredible adventures I had in getting to the place where all the toads meet for their ceremony, by walking through the desert in the middle of the night over land that wasn't mine, with a styrofoam cooler to put toads in, and walking, you could hear the toads in the distance singing, but you would walk and walk and it wouldn't seem to get louder until you finally got there, and then it was as loud as a jet engine with all of them going off. You couldn't speak to another person had another person been there. And then wondering how to collect the toads. No problem. You turn on your light and they all come hopping and flopping toward you. So you put some in the cooler. Now you have to go back over arroyos and gullies with the cooler, take them home, look at them, and wait a minute. This is a large toad. It has the buboes. Is it Bufo alvarius? Am I going to risk it? And so conservatively, no, on that occasion, I did not. It's also been pointed out that death is sometimes a side effect of this procedure.
Huh.
So much for the toads. Yeah, it can be a life-changing thing. You're dealing with a powerful toxin. What if a piece of it goes out of the pipe down the wrong pipe or something? You have to take risks to do some things. But once again, Andrew Weil recommends it, although he cautions people who try it. And it is illegal, according to the U.S. government.
Yes, indeed. We here at the Ask Dr. Hal Show Home Edition do not endorse anything that has been
We
spoken of
endorse
this
nothing.
evening.
And we don't endorse licking toads.
Especially don't endorse
That's
licking
all
them.
over the internet. It is a disaster if anyone, of course, few people would do it anyway. At least there's that.
There are too
No.
many other nice things in the world to lick. You don't need to
That's
lick
right.
toads. Perfectly nice things to lick.
Yes. Well, what other questions have we got here?
I will mention in mushroom lore, we like to say there are old mushroom hunters and there are bold mushroom hunters, but there are no old, bold mushroom hunters.
That's probably true, and what a terrible way to go.
Ooh, yeah, there's some
mushroom poison.
awful ones. The destroying angels will get you.
Mhm. That's how they got rid of Caesar Augustus.
Over the course of days.
Oh, goodness.
Well, Professor Gofflin, I believe you have a question for Dr.
Oh, I
Hal.
do indeed. Allow me to flip over to my screen here. One moment, please. Yes, I do have a question here from friend of the show, Reverend Dr. Billy.
Oh,
This
great.
is a $15 question, and Dr. Billy asks, as we approach what will surely be the true X Day, who do you hope to see among the crew of your personal pleasure saucer?
Well, that's a good one. It's never been established whether it is possible during the voyage to Planet X for one to leave one's saucer and go on another saucer. And are all the loved faces you would like to see simply simulacra created by MWOM? We have enough of that virtual nonsense down here. But when we're speaking of aliens vastly more advanced than we are, there's no limit potentially on what they may do. So those who one wishes to speak to when one has a thought, unlike earthly existence, one is able to speak to in person. I'm not sure how they do it, but it is the least of their abilities, according to the sacred writings and prescriptures of the Book of the Subgenius. Does this mean you could speak to famous people from history, as Gulliver did when he visited the saucer known as Laputa and was shown the Roman Senate and other things from the past and the Parliament of England at the time with their incredible equipment? Possibly. That is not an unreasonable assumption. So, like in that Star Trek episode, you could have Abe Lincoln to chat with, perhaps. Although that assumes Abe Lincoln, wherever and he is and whatever he's doing, has nothing better to do than to satisfy your random curiosity. There is a certain necessity for cosmic balance in all things. I guess you'd get to see whoever you wanted to see and talk to that person. And then it might be a good idea to check whether or not that really happened. It is a matter not only of science, in the case of the Church of the Subgenius, but of theology. Well, thank you for your question, Dr. Billy. He's the band leader on our show. We hear his music. Here is another poem, this one by T.S. Eliot, on a theological topic. The broad-backed hippopotamus rests on his belly in the mud. Although he seems so firm to us, he is merely flesh and blood. Flesh and blood are weak and frail, susceptible to nervous shock, while the true church need never fail, for it is based upon a rock. The potamus can never reach the mango on the mango tree, yet fruits of pomegranate and peach refresh the church from over sea. At mating time, the hippo's voice betrays inflections hoarse and odd, yet every week we hear the church rejoice in being one with God. The hippopotamus's day is passed in sleep. At night, he hunts. God moves in a mysterious way. The church can feed and sleep at once. I saw the potamus take wing, ascending from the damp savannas, while choiring angels round him sing the praise of God in loud hosannas. Blood of the Lamb shall wash him clean, him shall the heavenly arms unfold. Among the saints he shall be seen performing on a harp of gold. He shall be washed as white as snow, by all the martyred virgins kissed, while the true church remains below, wrapped in the old miasmal mists.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Hal.
Well, we have a monster movie moment coming up, and I think now is a good time to bring that about. And this one is an old favorite. We're revisiting it. We visited this scene a while back, and actually, this is the scene before the scene that we showed.
Yes, we never showed this particular scene. We have shown other similarly entertaining scenes.
St. Joyce and I recently sat and watched this movie. It is a good movie. It is a fun movie all the way through.
Yes, I find it most entertaining.
And my theory is the captain really does have something going on with that cute little thing in the shower.
Yes, well, he never actually gets in the shower, but her moment of coming out of the shower was put on the poster of the movie itself and constantly repeated in the advertising.
I will bring that up at some point in the near future.
Very good. On this show?
Perhaps, yes. I'd like everyone to see that because it's telling.
We'd like to draw your attention to this.
Yes, let us draw.
You never know what you're going to see on the Ask Dr. Hal show.
Right.
You might even see a dragon in a bathtub bathing up, or a flying saucer that is looking for its cup. Well, what is the... oh, it's not a question. We're going to see the monster movie moment itself.
We are.
Indeed.
And so here it comes. But I wanted to mention, so everybody, see if you see what I see, but there's some body language between the main male character and the cute little female character.
Well, maybe it's just good acting.
I think some things transcend acting. I think there was some pheromone activity going on there.
Perhaps I'll have to do some additional research.
There's some moments where I mean, you can tell he's just saying, God, your hair smells great.
In the middle of all this frenzied monster attack activity.
Sure, it's just a job.
Yeah.
Look,
Well,
he's getting paid scale.
About him, and maybe I will after we see this thrilling monster movie.
See if you see what I see. I see real, sparks going on there. Maybe it's just chemistry. I don't know. But here it is. Monster movie moment number 1. There she
as
is.
advertised.
Put it over Gofflin's. Sorry.
Well, there's no good place to put that. But
Kim
it's
Parker
beautiful.
and some of her brainy
Let me
friends.
do it the right way. There we go.
There we
She
go.
does quite well in the movie. Her acting is not really bad. It's quite good and adequate.
Look at those smoky eyes.
That's one thing to look at in this image.
Yes.
I'm a married man and my eyes are locked right on those smoky eyes.
I must have been 7 years old when I saw
Discovered that you
the
like
preview
girls.
of this movie in Illinois at the movie theater, where I was there to see something else, and indignant grown-ups wrote a letter to the paper saying, how dare they show this in front of an audience containing children. I remember reading the letter in the paper, too, with interest and enjoyment, though it wasn't for years till I actually got to see the movie.
Yes, Dr. Hal show is not for children.
There's also a tale of this movie when it premiered in the U.S. They had one of the brain creatures out in front of the movie
In
theater
a
making
specially reinforced metal and glass container, and there it was pumping away, so it couldn't get out.
Yeah, and it had the sort of squelching sound was being piped
Yeah.
in, and apparently it caused such a scene the police were called. So
They knew how to get publicity for a movie back in those days.
It's a fun movie. I mean, sometimes you watch those old movies and they're schlocky and they don't really hold up, and
If you're hypercritical, people who are determined not to be entertained will not be entertained.
This movie is just fun. And the animation really is top notch.
Yes.
The acting is good, although I am of the opinion that not all of it was acting. A lot of that captain not being able to keep his hands off of that cute little blonde or brunette.
Now, Pressure. People with long memories may remember that Marshall Thompson was one half of the duo in the program Route 66, who drove across the U.S. George Maharis was his buddy. But those who are really into the esoterica of his career may remember a promotional movie made by Greyhound Bus Lines called Freedom Highway, in which Mr. Thompson played a significant part, where on this bus was Angie Dickinson, for some reason spectacularly dressed in a completely different outfit every time you saw her. One wonders where she changed on the bus. And Morris Ankrum, an actor who played generals in movies and a judge in the Perry Mason show. Morris Ankrum in Freedom Highway was saddened and discouraged in the United States since his son had been killed in battle. And when he denigrates the U.S., Marshall Thompson bristles and shows his fists and is ready to give old Morris a sock in the jaw. However, here's a spoiler alert. By the end of Freedom Highway, it determines that one person aboard the bus was not really human at all, but a spirit, a ghost. In fact, the ghost of the unknown soldier whose tomb is seen in Washington, D.C. He also was on TV's Doctari, produced by Ivan Tors. Marshall Thompson was, he was around. So he had a good career.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a little bit different from my last Greyhound bus experience, but actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure there was a ghost and somebody did get punched. So,
But were you able to show up brilliantly attired with a completely perfect hairstyle during a lost bus ride?
not on the Greyhound.
Yeah. Lucky I'm dressed.
Oh, that was the ghost was probably doing that.
That's probably what
as well. I wonder if Freedom Highway is on the internet somewhere. It might be visible. Who knows? Everything's on the internet. I'm familiar with having seen it in the 16mm print years ago.
We had a comment from somebody in the audience. That is a correct statement. We are no longer taking PayPal.
Yes.
Probably mention that.
It's not our pal. Or yours.
We were running into all kinds of problems with PayPal, and we had to switch over to Stripe. So if that is causing anyone any problems, let us know, and we will certainly work something out. It is we have ways.
And we're not on strike, but well, actually, maybe we could use strike though.
And on special occasions, I can direct people over to a PayPal account. Essentially, it would be my PayPal account, and then we would forward Hal the money.
Right. Well, let's not have gremlins interfere with the show too much. Such things do happen. I'm glad we got an opportunity to warn our audience. I assume we have more questions.
We're in a transition state at the moment, so bear with us, audience, as usual.
So yes, audience, if you're having any difficulty, please let us know in the Twitch chat, and we will accommodate you.
We're so easy to get along with. Professor Gofflin, I'm going to give the next question over to you, and I will see you all in just a few minutes.
Excellent.
Very well.
All right, Dr. Hal, I have here a question from friend of the show, AgriJag. This is a $20 question.
Excellent.
And his question is, it's Frops Giving today. How on earth do I get this Tibetan priest to stay buried so my Habafrops zipulops will continue to grow? He keeps climbing out, astral projecting, or just plain vanishing for weeks on end during peak season.
And who is it who does this? A Tibetan priest?
Yes, the Tibetan priest that has apparently been buried.
But you can't keep a good man down, eh? Viewers of the movie Werewolf of London will remember Dr. Yogami, who came all the way from Tibet to Hector, the protagonist of the movie, the later werewolf, and describe the medicinal properties of the Marifosa luminosa plant. The short fact to know about that is it confers lycanthropy or werewolfism. Any lich, any revenant, any creature or person who returns from the dead, according to tradition, doesn't have a very benevolent path in mind. This character who is, now walking when he shouldn't be, may have a malevolent thing to offer you, and so you should try to suppress his rising, and particularly not be inspired to employ a plant that it or he offers you. On the other hand, some are so occupied with their sacred and sacerdotal duties that they might transcend the barrier of death simply to keep you from harm, which would help ultimately on the karmic register, according to how these things are judged. At any rate, be not deterred, but examine your own motives and make sure that they are cosmically clean and not so dirty as they pass between dimensions and universes that they bring trailing elements of things better left where they are. I'm not sure of the utility of this response, but that's my ruling, as the old judge used to say, and I have spoken. But I will now recite a poem because of your generosity. That poem by Edward Gorey is called The Wuggly Ump. Sing Tiraloo, sing Terrelay. The wuggly ump lives far away. It eats umbrellas, gunny sacks, brass doorknobs, mud, and carpet tacks. How most unpleasing, to be sure. Its other habits are obscure. Sing Jigglepin, sing Jogglepin. The wuggly ump has left its den. We pass our happy childhood hours in weaving endless chains of flowers. Across the hills, the wuggly ump is hurling on, kerbash, kerblump. When play is over, we are fed on wholesome bowls of milk and bread. Sing hushaboo, sing hushaby, the wuggly ump is drawing nigh. The moon is full, its silver beams shine down and give us lovely dreams. Sing twiddle-ear, sing twaddle-or, the wuggly ump is at the door. It's making an unholy fuss. Why has it come to visit us? What nasty little willful eyes for anything of such a size. How uninviting are its claws. How even more so are its jaws. Sing gloggalimp, sing gluggalump from deep inside the wuggly ump. Thank you for your question.
Dr. Hal, I have a question here from former neurologist Dr. Ricky T. Tavi.
Okay.
And it is a $15 question.
Excellent.
Dear Dr. Hal, how and when did you first meet Bob Clampett? During the early 80s, was Clampett ever exposed to the Church of the Subgenius? I loved your story you told of him pointing out a baby to you that he thought was funny in what I believe you said was an airport?
Yes, I was, I forget whether I had come to get him at the airport or had taken him back to the airport, but he silenced my chatter by pointing out that sight which was of most interest to him, a baby yawning, and it was remarkable. You could see why the animator was interested in the width of the mouth that the baby opened and the wrinkles of its face and its closed eyes. That was the sort of thing he would notice. Well, years ago, and in the 70s, before the Church of the Subgenius was recommended to me. I was in artistic community at the University of Arizona, where I had gone to school. And in particular, I worked with a fellow named Bill Fennon at the film program at the University of Arizona. And we would bring people, and we both decided Bob Clampett would be great to bring. And sure enough, he came. He was quite willing to come. And so I got him. This was the first time. I can't tell you the year. But as we drove up to the theater, he remarked with amusement and approval that this student movie theater was showing, what was the movie with Marlon Brando, the one with the sex in it that was big at the time. The name momentarily escapes me, but he thought that was a fine use of student resources. Whether he was in front of a large audience or a small one, he always gave a good show, and he brought film, and he showed various things that he'd done. He showed a wonderful stop motion film of an egg walking along, and that egg with hands and feet had a marvelous spring in its step. And also an animated look at how an animated cartoon based on the Martian novels of Edgar Rice Burroughs might look, of a four-armed Tharkian riding a thoat, a Martian six-legged steed. Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff. And, of course, the cartoons, as usual. And he took questions from the audience. That was so successful that years later I was running a separate film program, which was separate from the University of Arizona. It was at the Loft Theater in Tucson, which still exists, but not in the same location. And the audience was not large. It was less than I was hoping. But Clampett was his usual self, and he gave a really good presentation. And the poster that I made for that event, I still have, though it's unreachable at the moment in my crowded apartment, where Clampett signed it and wished me a 4-carat future. That is to say, carrot as the food of Bugs Bunny and not the measurement of jewelry. Could you remind me how Last Tango in Paris, thank you, Subconscious Mind, that was the movie that was being shown at the University of Arizona, and Clampett thought it was quite different from his own college days. So this is a sizable amount that I have received?
Yes, Dr. Hal, this was a $15 question.
All right. Here is a poem by T.S. Eliot. Gus, the theatrical cat. Gus is the cat at the theater door. His name, as I ought to have told you before, is really Asparagus. That's such a fuss that we usually call him just Gus. His coat's very shabby. He's thin as a rake, and he suffers from palsy that makes his paws shake. Yet he was, in his youth, quite the smartest of cats, if no longer a terror to mice and to rats. For he isn't the cat that he was in his prime, though his name was quite famous, he says, in its time. And whenever he joins his friends at their club, which takes place in the back of the neighboring pub, he loves to regale them, if someone else pays, with anecdotes drawn from his palmiest days. For he once was a star of the highest degree. He has acted with Irving, he's acted with Tree, and he likes to recount his effect on the halls when the gallery once gave him 7 cat calls. But his grandest creation, as he loves to tell, was Fire Frore Fiddle, the fiend of the fell. I have played, he will say, every possible part, and I used to know 70 speeches by heart. I could improvise back chat, I knew how to gag, and I knew how to let the cat out of the bag. I knew how to act with my back and my tail. 1 hour of rehearsal. I never would fail. I'd a voice that would soften the hardest of hearts, whether I took the lead or in character parts. I have sat by the bedside of poor little Nell when the curfew was rung, then I swung on the bell. In pantomime season, I never fell flat, and I once understudied Dick Whittington's cat. But my finest creation, as history will tell, was Fire Frore Fiddle, the fiend of the fell. Then, if someone will give him a tootful of gin, he'll tell you how he once had a part in East Lynne. At a Shakespeare performance, he once walked on Pat when some actor remarked on the need for a cat. He once played a tiger, could do it again, which an Indian colonel pursued down a drain. And he thinks that he still can, far better than most, make blood-curdling noises to bring on the ghost. And he once crossed the stage on a telegraph wire to rescue a child when a house was on fire. And he says, now these kittens, they never get trained as we did in the days when Victoria reigned. They never perform in a regular troupe, and they think it is smart just to jump through a hoop. And he says, as he scratches himself with his claws, well, the theatre's certainly not what it was. These modern productions are all very well, but there's nothing to equal, from what I hear tell, that moment of mystery where I made history as Fire Frore Fiddle, the fiend of the fell.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Hal. Well, I believe that brings us actually to our next segment. We will be featuring a musical act that is near and dear to many subgenii in the audience. We will be visiting our friends Rubix Pube as they debut their wonderful new film, Rubix Pube Must Be Stopped. So please, audience, this is your cue to get those questions in queue, but please enjoy this next segment.
What's going on? We're a band called Rubix Pube. I'm Reverend Ness. That's Rob. That's Felix. We're a 3-piece punk band from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And this is our film.
Hope you like it.
Hope you don't like it.
Don't care if you don't. I don't know.
Don't watch it.
Pube Fest, where would I even start? It's 3 days, 100 people inside my house.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
Chaos. There's nowhere to sleep either.
No, there's not, no, typically.
Survival of the stupidest.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta be pretty stupid just to show up.
Yeah.
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 For years, my mom and dad told me when I asked them what's going on down there, they never gave me an answer. But Rubix Pube did.
Mostly local bands, but we have a lot of traveling bands. We have some bigger headliners, and obviously features us.
The question is, how do you solve a Rubik's Pube?
Keep turning it this way and that until you achieve success.
And ultimately, our hopes are to usher in the end of the world, you know.
What you'll see is something that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. No matter how many years of therapy you go through to try to forget it.
I just made spaghetti tonight. So whoever could guess
the amount of spaghetti's in this jar wins the jar of spaghetti tonight. $50.
75.
We're not auctioning it off, but I'll take $50. Guess the amount of noodles, $50 worth of noodles in here, and you win the jar. I'll just give it away because 47.
What's the secret ingredient?
Who's counting the noodles?
It's the Rubik's Pube sauce. This is the jar of Rubik's Pube official brand sauce. That's the secret ingredient. Yeah, leaves you wanting less. Thanks, Rubik's Pube. This is about Thunderdome. It's about the Thunderdome, but with bugs.
I'm going to be the interviewer. I came to audition. Look at me. So, what's your name?
I'm Chris. Hello.
All right. What is your function at this locality?
I make sure I don't let any riprap in there.
How does anyone get to see Rubik's Pube if no riprap are allowed?
They bring the riprap. I remember when they were little pubes at the open mic they started.
Okay.
A tiny pube.
Curly like your mustache.
Yeah, they were curly when they came in. I'm so glad to see my little pubes grow up to be big pubes in the scene.
Nice.
They're crushing it.
When did you first realize that something really big was happening with Rubik's Pube at the Fun House?
Well, they always bring the fans out and they bring the energy, and they're doing something unique in the Lehigh Valley scene overall. And it's always a wacky time. Probably Rob.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully. I've never seen it before, though.
Okay. So what's the worst thing that ever happened at a Rubik's Pube show here?
Oh, my God. I feel like somebody cracked their head open once or twice. I feel like that happened. I have all good memories in my head, no bad ones.
Don't worry, everyone. I brought it. The Sasquatch in a box. I know you all were wondering.
We wonder when you're going to bring some good music back to the Fun House and bring Tom and Tan in here.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
We're done.
All right. Okay.
An interview?
All right.
Oh, honey, the big bad Ask Dr. Hal Show Home Edition is for adults only, so put the kiddies to bed, will ya?
That, of course, is our very own Professor Trixie Von Mothersbaugh.
Ah, the golden voice.
And she's trying to prevent some theoretical children from being theoretically traumatized by our show. But really, when you consider that all the things that they could be looking at, I don't see how we would receive the equivalent of the X certificate which was levied against Fiend Without a Face in Britain. X at that time only meant that the royal censor felt that anyone under 16 years old should not see the film, and often they would cut things out. As I said the other day, they censored the skeleton fight scene from The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, which was a great surprise to Ray Harryhausen when he was sitting in the theater trying to watch the movie.
I
Well.
threw up a little bit when that was mentioned yesterday. I didn't know they did that. That is,
They don't have that system anymore in Great Britain, but they did at that time. And to me, the worst thing that ever happened at a Rubik's Pube show was the falling cow. But perhaps we'll talk about that another time, at a future time.
a cliffhanger, as it were.
Right.
A
well,
cow hanger.
Over the cliff, in fact. Well, there it was. We were all paralyzed with horror as this occurred. Yet it ended well, surprisingly enough. Anyway, let us go on.
I want to point something out real quick, because every time this story gets mentioned, there is something that I really, about the subgenius community, I would like to point out. This cow was in dire stress. Not a single subgenius pulled out a camera and photographed the thing. And I am so proud of this crowd that they didn't do that. They were worried about the cow and not worried about getting likes on YouTube, which I think is.
So no one photographed this strange cow falling like a meteor and landing so decisively.
No one came forward, and I think it was because everybody in the crowd was just horrified.
Well, there wasn't much time. It happened quickly, but I would prefer to discuss this incident in a later show, because we can give it more.
Well, how about
now? I have a question for you.
No. In the after show chat, this is our moment to plug the after show chat. If you'd like to hear the cow story, we do have our after show chat, so please be on the lookout for the link for that in the Twitch chat.
Well, it just shows that, like the Dr. Hal show, anything can happen at a Rubik's Pube concert.
But I have a question for you. So, let me find that button. There we are. It is a question from Reverend Drunculus. It is a $12 question, and it is: the Janer device has not been seen in recent years. How might we reactivate it?
Well, Janer is considered by the Church of the Subgenius to be an apostate, a heretic who tried to set up his own counter church with someone named Don, as opposed to our Bob. And it didn't end well for Janer, and he's not really a part of our presentation anymore, except in the multifold recordings that have been made through the years. And back in the day, Janer was actually funny and was part of the agreeable chaos of a subgenius revival or presentation. Some of these audio excerpts can even be heard at times on my radio show of internet radio on radiovalencia.fm. Go to Radio Valencia, go to the podcasts page, hit podcasts, and go down to the Ask Dr. Hal show, and there where it says 70, 100, however many episodes, you hit that and you can play the last episode, but I can't guarantee that Janer was on that one. It's only that a thread of Janer tends to run through these shows. Also, the Puzzling Evidence Show on KPFA 94.1 FM, which is at 3 in the morning Pacific time in the San Francisco Bay Area and beyond. It's a large and powerful, vigorous signal. You will not hear the Janer device on Reloadio, another presentation that we do, since it is more hermetically controlled than my show or even the Puzzling Evidence show. We wish Janer well, but he no longer speaks for us, and therefore we should no longer speak for him.
Thank you, Hal. I just wanted to quickly shout out our dear friend who is in the Twitch chat, VJ Cat, who also does a wonderful thing over on her channel. She provides a beautiful psychedelic visual accompaniment to many of Dr. Hal's radio shows.
Who Reloadio, as she did last night.
Indeed,
So
yes.
there's
So
a
please,
visual
if you
dimension.
are in the Twitch chat, please give VJ Cat a follow, and I'll see about do a shout out when I have a free hand here. In the meantime, we have another question for you, Dr. Hal.
Very well.
I have here a question. It is a $9 question from OK Bob OK, and the question is: do you have a copy of King Missile's "Hey Jesus, Where You Goin'" to play in the background?
Alas, I do not have such a copy to play in the background. What about the rest of this show in its musical archives? Are we able to play this tune, which I must say I haven't heard? We pride ourselves on our knowledge of esoteric music, too, but you can't know about everything. What was the name of it again?
Hey Jesus, Where You Goin'?
Yes. What of it? Do we have the ability to play that music in the background?
Alas, we do not. We are restricted by the social mores of Twitch, would not allow such a occurrence.
Well, that is sad. You know, on Zoom, where we started, we couldn't play anything in the background at all because Zoom prioritizes a single sound source. We are technically set up to be able to play music, but we're simply not doing it so that we can focus on questions and answers. But we're sorry to disappoint you. And who is to say that at some future iteration we might not work that in some way? I assume it is being noted and we can do the appropriate research.
Dr. Hal, I have a question here from a very old friend of the show. Always good to see Dr. Penny. It is a $5 question.
Excellent.
And it is quite simple, but complex in its way. When sleeping at night, why do we dream?
Oh, well, it's my opinion, and not only my opinion, Dr. Penny, that dreaming is the point of sleep. That the subconscious mind needs to resolve certain issues of incompatibility and miscommunication with the point of consciousness, which we identify as the ego, in fact, which we may think is all there is in our heads. I assure you, it is only one star in a constellation which can be found within the human cranium. That larger element called the subconscious mind is aware of everything and is looking out for you, trying to make things easier so that your life can be extended. And thus it presents these scenarios. They are necessary to organize and order the thoughts, and they are presented in dramatic form because humans enjoy stories, enjoy narratives. Sometimes the dreams themselves are vexatious and you wish to wake up from them. If you do, you will probably remember them, since you can remember a dream that you wake up in the middle of or right after, but aside from that, you will not remember them unless something in the waking world happens to remind you of something that occurred to you when you were over there in Morpheus's kingdom. Then you may be by being reminded, able to remember some portion of that dream. Dreams are not only for humans, animals also dream, including spiders, as has recently been determined by science. The Salticidae, or jumping spiders, tend to dream vividly, but these are unusual spiders, which I have spoken of at length in another context. Still, the dreams are what it's all about, and if you lie down and fidget, you will not receive the refreshment and benefit of sleep, and if that continues, you will ultimately be non-compos mentis, or crazy. Your mind will not work for you properly unless you allow it the freedom to dream.
Well,
I'm not. Oh, there.
Oh.
Ah.
What?
Eh?
I saw your lips move, but didn't hear anything. But that's, I think, part of the delay that is here at my end. So never mind about that. Pay it no, never mind.
Oh dear, he's having another one of his episodes
Oh,
now.
yeah, another one of my episodes. Yeah, St. Joyce knows them well. She's laughing over there. Oh, well, we have a second monster movie moment, and what a monster movie moment it is. There are
we're proud of this one. Very proud of it.
Indeed, yes.
This is a movie. If you haven't seen this, ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues, guests, I implore you to watch this movie. If you do not like subtitled movies, make an exception in this case, because the spoken French in this movie it makes me want to learn French. It's just...
It only exists in a French version, isn't that right? There's no dubbed English version of this movie.
There is.
Oh, there is?
It's possible, but I think the sentiment is true.
Yeah, I think better to hear in the original language in this particular case.
The acting's beautiful. It really is. Everyone is just fabulous in this movie. But you know what? I'm not gonna hold this out any longer. We're just gonna go ahead and play it. I encourage everybody, watch this movie. It's so unknown, and it's such a subgenius movie.
Well, apparently there was a corporate decision that Americans wouldn't like it, so it was never given a big presence in America. Our pleasure, then, to bring these excerpts to you, and it contains so much good stuff that we will be mining it in future Ask Dr. Hal episodes for more monster movie moments.
And and not to milk this any longer, but it's just a wonderful piece. I encourage everybody to see it. And audience, get those questions into the queue. We do have time. We do have space. We're four-dimensional here, so bring it on. Here's the monster movie moment.
How fun.
Published by Editions Casterman, who did the Moulins Art English language Tintin albums.
Yeah, people find her abrupt, and I just find her commanding and in charge and in power. She's just a wonderful character.
I do like the character. I think she's got a lot of good traits.
She's a female Indiana Jones. I mean, not to qualify her, but I mean that's, and every bit as capable. So,
yes.
Cool.
Well, we hope that our audience enjoyed this excerpt. And as I said, we have others which we will be presenting in future shows.
Indeed, we will.
We haven't shown the mummies.
Just as a reminder, folks, in the Twitch chat is a link from Reverend Xenofact to the newsletter. If you would like that detailed visual effects breakdown, we will have that and other information on our features.
I'm chuckling at what Professor Trixie just posted out in the world. I won't say what it was. I'm just chuckling.
I see.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. There's so many don't be doing that in this chat.
Well, no, I mean, but I just generally don't we don't condone that openly here.
Exactly. We here at the Ask Dr. Hal Show Home Edition do not condone any kind of activity
openly.
Oh, I guess that's a good thing. I'm not toad smoking or anything else.
No.
Never. It's a poison. Why would someone put a poison in their body, for crying out loud? He says conservatively.
Yes, absolutely no reason to side-eye that comment. At any rate, I believe we have more questions for the good doctor in the queue.
Oh, good. It's to you, Professor. Oh.
Very good. All right, Dr. Hal, I have here an $11 question from our regular contributor, Reverend Dr. Big John.
Right.
And the question is, I can bet my life. I can bet my boots. I can bet my sweet bippy. Please rank these bettable items in order of importance.
Most important is your life. Next important is your sweet bippy. And next important are your boots. And in America, we say, I'll bet my bottom dollar, which is a long way to go, of course, since financial insecurity is an earmark of these times. But without life and without the continuity of life, the passion and enjoyment of gambling is completely invalidated. Since once one departs from this earthly plane, there is only certainty and no random action, according to the purveyors of all the world's great religions, and some not so great.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Hal.
Appreciate the question.
Right up on the queue there. We just had a bunch of questions come in, so we're going to be answering a few this time.
They came rattling into the hopper during the last few minutes.
Yes, Professor Gofflin, sorry I left you up there hanging. Like, what am I doing here on the screen?
That's
with Dr.
quite
Hal?
all right.
No one. I need like 4 arms to do some of the stuff that goes on back here. So, but in any event,
one is forearmed.
Well, I have a question for you, Dr. Hal. Let's see. It is from Dr. Wolfgang Amadeus Gotthardammerung, a very old friend of the show.
Right. Yes, he is.
And it is a $30 question, Dr. Hal.
Good heaven.
And it is any opinions on this dire wolf hullabaloo? More books winging their way to you even as we speak.
Well, I only am vaguely aware of it, but apparently there is some attempt to restore the extinct species, the dire wolf. The dire wolf was a fearsome inhabitant of the Pleistocene period, and in packs often chased down and devoured the largest of prey. Humans were its enemy, except that a gradual phenomenon of domestication came into being, perhaps because of things thrown away from the feast to the outside of the fire, where this canine species could come and get it. And in Game of Thrones, there are large canids, which are called dire wolves, and who is to say that that's not what they are? Why do we need dogs or wolves that are larger and fiercer than anything that is around now? That's also the problem with reviving mammoths. In both cases, it is not an impossibility, according to some, because of the existence of species which could provide the wombs for the development of these throwback species. In the case of the mammoth, the Indian elephant is the closest. And in the case of the dire wolf, an ordinary wolf or dog of a large size could be used. All modern dogs are said to derive from two other species, the jackal and the wolf. Dogs that are lupine, that is to say, of wolf descent, are intensely loyal, and they will bond with their human and tolerate other humans. To them, the one that they choose is the alpha dog of the pack, and to threaten that person is to invite being attacked by a huge, vicious dog. They tend to be large. On the other hand, the jackal side of the canine ancestry finds its closest approximation in, of all species, the poodle. And the poodle is one of the most intelligent of dogs, though the border collie seems to have the record at this time. Depending on how these characters are mixed, you get the entire spectrum of dog species, from nasty little wet yapping things that you can hold, or the huge bounding dogs that are far happier on a farm or in the woods than they ever would be being walked through the city by paid dog walkers. So I'm interested in the dire wolf. I only wish we had the space, the real estate, to bring back these creatures. If we are recreating creatures, let's at least give them a place to stay. That is what I said. And wasn't this a particularly generous donation, as I understand?
It was
Indeed,
a
Dr. Hal.
$30 question, Dr. Hal.
All right. I think this poem is called Light Breaks Where No Sun Shines by Dylan Thomas. Light breaks where no sun shines, where no sea runs. The waters of the heart push in their tides, and broken ghosts with glowworms in their heads. The things of light file through the flesh where no flesh decks the bones. A candle in the thighs warms youth and seed, and burns the seeds of age, where no seed stirs. The fruit of man unwrinkles in the stars, bright as a fig, where no wax is. The candle shows its hairs. Dawn breaks behind the eyes from poles of skull, and toe the windy blood slides like a sea. Nor fenced, nor staked, the gushers of the sky spout to the rod, divining in a smile the oil of tears. Night in the sockets rounds like some pitch moon, the limit of the globes. Daylight's the bone. Where no cold is, the shining gales unpin the winter's robes. The film of spring is hanging from the lids. Light breaks on secret lots, on tips of thought, where thoughts smell in the rain. When logic dies, the secret of the soil grows through the eye, and blood jumps in the sun above the waste allotments. The dawn halts. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Hal. I have here a $15 question from our dear friend, Reverend Xenofact, publicist for the show. And he asks, there are centuries of talk about the Philosopher's Stone, but there is one question I must ask. What did it taste like?
Well, the philosopher's stone, unless it was a stone extracted from the unfortunate body of a philosopher, which would also make it the philosopher's stone, is supposedly the ultimate goal of alchemy, to produce this object. And it is all things to all purposes and people. So if you put it in your mouth, it might taste like a piece of lemon meringue pie, if that is your greatest desire. You see, it would also take you anywhere you wanted, through walls, through skies, and into other countries, into the secret places of the earth, and confer upon you tremendous powers. Of course, these powers are more tremendous than any individual, and you could very easily destroy yourself by employing it. A good theological novel about this, a piece of theological science fiction comparable with the works of C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, is by their friend Charles Williams, and it is a book called Many Dimensions. And this book, I think, is the most readable of all Charles Williams' esoteric novels. Some of them are hard sledding for people not versed in this sort of esoterica, but Many Dimensions is a very good picture of what the Philosopher's Stone might be like, and it also introduces a loathsome and fascinating villain, Sir Giles Tumulty. At any rate, I'm not sure that this has answered your question, but if the Philosopher's Stone is so receptive and so plastic in the larger sense, then it would taste whatever you wanted it to taste like. The trick would be not to swallow it, which would be a bad thing. In an old house, there is always listening, and more is heard than is spoken, and what is spoken remains in the room, waiting for the future to hear it, and whatever happens started in the past and presses hard on the future. The agony in the curtained bedroom, whether of birth or of dying, gathers into itself all the voices of the past and projects them into the future. The mowing of hay in summer, the dogs and the old pony, the stumble and the wail of little pain, the chopping of wood in autumn, the singing in the kitchen and the footsteps at night in the corridor, the moment of sudden loathing and the season of stifled sorrow, the whisper, the transparent deception, the keeping up of appearances, the making the best of a bad job, all twined and tangled together, all are recorded. There is no avoiding these things, and we know nothing of exorcism. And whether in Argos or in England, there are certain inviolable laws, unchangeable in the nature of music. There is nothing to be done about it. There is nothing to do about anything. And now it is time for the news. We must listen to the weather report and the international catastrophes. T.S. Eliot. I think that's from one of his plays.
Beautiful.
What was that?
Beautiful piece.
Ah, yes.
I have a question for you. It is
very good.
From our very good friend, Reverend Dr. Les, and it is a $20 question.
Oh, very good.
And it reads, if sex creates more people and murder creates more ghosts, do ghosts get off on murder?
In The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, the narrator, the time traveler, sees a spectral form flitting among the ruins in the far future. And though not a believer in ghosts, it inspires him to wonder if, during the vast lineage of human history, a huge number of ghosts have not been created, making the earth their habitation more than that of humans. But ghosts, according to those who study them, are a sort of psychic remnant of something that happened in a particular place, a place which is then called haunted. And the ghost is that portion of an extinct being which is condemned to repeat over and over the things which brought it into being and persist in maintaining its being. When this has been played over a sufficient number of times, perhaps, according to ghost fanciers, then it will be released and allowed to go on to another plane of existence. Others say that if you lose a finger or a leg or even pieces of skin, they too have a spectral existence and will be condemned to follow the path that you lived, and sometime might be seen in a spectral emanation as they cross a room where once their owner lived. However, I'd have to see all this stuff to believe it. But a ghost is not necessarily a complete being, as we see in the case, for example, of Casper the Friendly Ghost, or even the famous ghosts of literature. The ghost of Hamlet's father, Hamlet Sr., was not so much a ghost, although it was described as one, as a visitor from hell allowed on this occasion in something which is called a refrigerum, where the spirits from hell are occasionally allowed a vacation. But this isn't the time to discuss that. And death shall have no dominion. Dead men, naked, they shall be one with the man in the wind and the west moon. When their bones are picked clean and the clean bones gone, they shall have stars at elbow and foot. Though they go mad, they shall be sane. Though they sink through the sea, they shall rise again. Though lovers be lost, love shall not, and death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion. Under the windings of the sea, they lying long shall not die windily, twisting on racks till sinews give way, strapped to a wheel, yet they shall not break. Faith in their hands shall snap in two, and the unicorn evils run them through. Split all ends up, they shan't crack, and death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion. No more shall gulls cry in their ears, or waves break loud on the sea shore. Where blew a flower, may a flower no more lift its head to the blows of the rain. Though they go mad and dead as nails, heads of the character hammered through daisies, break in the sun till the sun breaks down, and death shall have no dominion. Dylan Thomas.
Wonderful recitation. Thank you, Dr. Hal. I have here a $9 love offering from Cowabunga, which simply reads,
All right.
No question, infinite thanks, and a small token in dollars. So thank you very much, Cowabunga.
I consider you prepaid for a question if you wish to ask one in the future.
Indeed, so file that away for the future.
Just and fair. I'm always happy that we are appreciated here.
Let's see, let us do another question in that case. I have here a $5 question from somebody named Someone. And the question reads, I have recently begun a romantic relationship with time. Physical intimacy can be achieved with clocks, hourglasses, etc. I want to know, when the sand in an hourglass stops flowing, is it still considered one of time's bodies, or does it become just sand in a glass? Thank you.
Well, we're not acting to measure time. It is one of time's bodies in potential. It can always be reactivated, such as can a clock that runs down, but not a broken clock. Although it's been said that such a clock is right 2 times a day, it is only a milestone in that regard, like the gnomon of a sundial, but unlike that, only feebly expressing time's passage. Well, the hourglass is also a symbol of time and is often seen carried by Kronos, or Old Father Time, with his scythe, ready to be used. And a large one has quite a lot of sand in it and will provide more time to watch the passage of time. Pastor Pressure, I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Now you can hear me.
The bell.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's going on with my microphone today.
You know, it may be some Windows settings. I was having a rather vexing interface problem earlier today. We'll go over it at a later time.
I've touched nothing.
Well, Windows is touched, unfortunately.
I've touched nothing. I am touched. Ha! On that note, I have a question here for you from J Random, who I don't know that I've seen their questions on the show before, so I think it's a brand new questioner. And it's a $30 question, Dr. Hal.
Wow.
Beyond a day off or marking the occasion of some sort of blood sacrifice, is there any meaning to Easter?
Well, the meaning of Easter is the meaning of life springing back after winter has suppressed it, when the seeds lie cold in the ground, but they are waiting to germinate. And so it was that the Son of Man was said to be epitomizing this life process by his life and foreordained death, and especially the resurrection. So that is the connection, and no doubt the Christian Church had something to do with placing its message in the same spot that used to have pagan ceremonies that underlay it, since in all cultures there are celebrations for spring and for its resurgence. So definitely there is that connection. Christianity is a successor to the religions which preceded it, and they are, one could say, an evolutionary successor. That's the take that we have on it here at the show. How much was that one?
That was a $30 question, Dr. Hal.
Oh, well, I don't know whether I did that one enough justice. This is a poem called To the Evening Star by William Blake. Thou fair-haired angel of the evening, now, while the sun rests on the mountains, light thy bright torch of love, thy radiant crown put on, and smile upon our evening bed. Smile on our loves, and while thou drawest the blue curtains of the sky, scatter thy silver dew on every flower that shuts its sweet eyes in timely sleep. Let thy west wind sleep on the lake, speak silence with thy glimmering eyes, and wash the dusk with silver. Soon, full soon, dost thou withdraw, then the wolf rages wide, and then the lion glares through the dun forest. The fleeces of our flocks are covered with thy sacred dew. Protect them with thine influence. That was Blake. Did I credit him?
Indeed, thank you. Very good. Well, Dr. Hal, I have here a question from friend of the show, Johnny is Wrong, who we have not heard from in some time. This is a $16 question.
Oh, very good.
And the question is, would it be morally wrong to have sex with a dinosaur if it had a big old butt and some juicy thighs and a come-hither look to it, and it gave consent as far as any verifiable, definitely communicated, like it wrote a letter on a typewriter saying it was okay to get railed?
Well, if it gave consent, that's the thing. It wouldn't be my choice. And what species are you talking about? It could be quite dangerous to attempt such a thing. Yet, right on the internet, as perhaps you know, there is dinosaur porn and pterodactyl porn. And when I did the live show, often my minions would call this up and it would be projected on the screen. In particular, the pornographic pterodactyl sequence shows the creature flapping its wings while having sex with a human. There are also still pictures that can be derived. But it's part of the nature of humans to want to have sex with anything or to eat anything. And just as humans often find something odd to be edible, and we're grateful to the discoverer of lobsters and other things for this. So another part of the human personality seeks the ineffable quality of mating in strange places. Usually bestiality is accompanied by smaller and unwilling creatures. So at least with the dinosaur, perhaps this unfairness is somewhat ameliorated. By the way, the cloaca of the saurians contained the genitals and was also used for the passage of fecal matter and urine. So one would have to be somewhat undiscriminating to attempt such a thing, even were it possible.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, in the heat of moments, we do all kinds of things and put our stuff in places that, well, you know, may
Has
not.
anybody ever seen any of this dinosaur porn? I think there's one with a Styracosaurus and a woman doing it. It's been years since I did that live show, but we had a guy named David Capurro who would find it and project it, and the audience would certainly react to it. But I mean, really, it is hardly prurient. That's all I can say. Who would get off on such a site? One has to wonder.
There is truly nothing new under the sun, Dr. Hal.
That's true.
Nothing surprises me anymore. I've been a subgenius for 30 years.
That's the way to look at it.
The things I've seen.
Jesus, the mad days we have seen.
Yeah. I have a question here, and it might be the last question, Dr.
The
Hal.
last question, all right.
But before I read that, I should mention that we have put the after show chat in all of the text chat areas. So, folks, we invite you to join us for the after show chat, where we'll all be kind of out there answering questions and expanding on things and all that stuff.
Expanding, maybe answering questions part will surely be over then, but we don't know. We can't say. So if you lose your way, just go to askdrhalshow.com, and there you can find a way to the chat room very easily.
Precisely that. And we have another old friend of the show, Reverend Couch Sloth, who has graciously given a love offering of $20 for this question.
Oh.
And of all the civilizations that didn't survive the Bronze Age, which is your favorite?
Well, we don't know them all, and new ones are constantly being unearthed. But who would turn down an opportunity to visit the city of Troy in the day of Priam and of Helen of Sparta, later called Helen of Troy? You should just get out of it before the Greeks arrive. But they might be interested in showing you around. One would have to be careful not to violate cultural and religious protocols. The ancient civilizations were very big on that. The Babylonians were quite proud of their great city of Babylon, of its huge gates and its famous hanging gardens, and they often referred to it as a town in the way that we sometimes refer to the Atlantic Ocean as a pond, in saying such a thing as across the pond. They were the biggest noise of the time, and during the long suzerainty of Egypt, they were distressed when the nearby Assyrians created weapons of the new wonder material iron. Although the Egyptians had the secret of tempering bronze into weapons-grade metal, a secret which has been lost since their time, but which modern metallurgists still hope to rediscover. A poem by Robert Frost called The Lockless Door. Yes. It went many years, but at last came a knock, and I thought of the door with no lock to lock. I blew out the light, I tiptoed the floor, and raised both hands in prayer to the door. But the knock came again. My window was wide. I climbed on the sill and descended outside. Back over the sill, I bade a "come in" to whoever the lock at the door may have been. So, at a knock, I emptied my cage to hide in the world and alter with age. Thank you for your question.
Well, I think that is it, Dr. Hal. I think we've answered all the questions.
Indeed.
Well, everything has a beginning and an end, as Hanush, the cosmic space spider, pointed out. Everything in the universe does, and even the universe itself. But we intend to be back next month on the third Sunday at the same time, and we hope you will join us then, because we are preparing some special material that you will like. And what do we have?
I'm not sure what
Yeah.
manner of
May 18th. I was trying to
May
hold up
18th.
fingers, but I can't count anymore.
Well, I would have had to see the gesture from the beginning to be able
Sort
to
of
count figures. Besides, mathematics is not my specialty. Anyway, the 18th of May, and if you will be there, you may be entertained by what we present.
God, I hope so.
Well, folks, thank you for joining us this evening. If you were entertained, please feel free to join us in the after show chat. The link will be in the Twitch chat.
Let me just throw it in there one more time. Make sure everybody gets it. It is also in the show chat. It's probably scrolled up, so let me throw that in there one more time.
There's no chat like show chat.
For everyone's
Indeed. And audience, please give us about 5 minutes to sort of spool up the chat and wrap up what we're doing here, but we'll be with you momentarily. So.
But just because we're coming to an end doesn't mean there's nothing more to watch or hear at our show. So please watch the outro. I understand it is Easter, and there may be an Easter egg or two in there, as it were. So I hear.
Nothing, sorry, nothing religious, nothing, if anybody's looking for that,
Nothing religious, perhaps
reveal.
delicious. Anyway, I'm just saying, because we try to end in a satisfactory way as we try to begin in a satisfactory way.
Next show, May 18th. We'll see you then. The Ask Dr. Hal Show Home Edition will return for an all-new live show on May 18th, 2025. For information on this, as well as where to find previous episodes, visit our website at AskDrHalShow.com. Dr. Hal is now taking house calls.
The Horde. When the moon was new and the sun young, of silver and gold the gods sung. In the green grass they silver spilled, and the white waters they with gold filled. Ere the pit was dug, or hell yawned, ere dwarf was bred or dragon spawned, there were elves of old, and strong spells under green hills in hollow dells. They sang as they wrought many fair things, and the bright crowns of the elf kings. But their doom fell, and their song waned, by iron hewn and by steel chained. Greed that sang not nor with mirth smiled, in dark holes their wealth piled, graven silver and carven gold. Over elven home the shadow rolled. There was an old dwarf in a dark cave, to silver and gems his fingers clave. With hammer and tongs and anvil stone, he worked his hands to the hard bone, and coins he made, and strings of rings, and thought to buy the power of kings. But his eyes grew dim, and his ears dull, and the skin grew yellow on his old skull. Through his bony claw, with a pale sheen, the stony jewels slipped unseen. No feet he heard, though the earth shaked, when the young dragon his thirst slaked. The stream smoked at his dark door, the flames hissed on the dank floor, and he died, alone, in the red fire. His bones were ashes in the hot mire. There was an old dragon under grey stone. His red eyes blinked as he lay alone. His joy was fled and his youth spent. He was knobbed and wrinkled and his limbs bent in the long years to his gold chained. In his heart's furnace the fire waned. To his belly's slime gems stuck thick. Silver and gold he would snuff and lick. He knew the place of the least ring beneath the shadow of his black wing. Of thieves he thought on his hard bed, and dreamed that on their flesh he fed, their bones crushed and their blood drank. His ears drooped and his breath sank. Mail rings rang, he heard them not. A voice echoed in his deep grot. A young warrior with a bright sword called him forth to defend his horde. His teeth were knives, and of horn his hide, but iron tore him, and his flame died. There was an old king on a high throne. His white beard lay on knees of bone. His mouth savored neither meat nor drink, nor his ears song. He could only think of his huge chest with its carven lid, where pale gems and gold lay hid in secret treasury in the dark ground. Its strong doors were with iron bound. The swords of his thanes were dull with rust, his glory fallen, his rule unjust, his halls barren, his bowers cold. But king he was of elvish gold. He heard not the horns in the mountain pass, he smelt not the blood on the trodden grass, but his halls were burned, his kingdom lost. In a cold pit his bones were tossed. There is an old hoard under dark rock, forgotten, behind doors none can unlock. That grim gate no man may pass. On the mound grows the green grass. There the sheep feed and the larks soar, and the wind blows from the seashore. The old hoard the night shall keep, while earth waits and the elves sleep. J.R.R. Tolkien.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
hell?